Hard facts.
Lagos, we've been talking for the past few weeks about babies. It's such a fun conversation to have until it's not. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, by the way. This is 99.3 Nigeria Info. And on the glass ceiling, we talk about all the different ways that women are held back, the different barriers that hold them back. And for the last 3 episodes, we've had very powerful conversations. We started with baby factories, and then we moved on to the pressure to have children. Why did we start with baby factories? Over a month ago, the Lagos State Police Command raided a chain of baby factories. Baby factory after baby factory after baby factory, and that led us to talk about why these things were thriving, why more people were willing to patronize baby factories instead of go the legal route to adopt children. And that led us to have a beautiful conversation with 2 women who had written a lot about baby factories and done a lot of work with young women who are trafficked to have babies, you know. And then that led us to have conversations, you know, where you were the guest and you talked about how they worked. You talked about how they went undetected. You talked about what needed to be done to stop them. And then you told me about why they existed, and you said that the reason was the high demand, the high pressure on people, the immense pressure on people to have biological children. Not just children, biological, the one they related to by blood. A lot of you called me, you sent me messages, you told me how in a lot of places women do not give birth to children and face ostracization by their husbands' families. Some of them are denied their inheritance rights if the man dies. Somebody even called me last week when we talked about this, to talk about his own sister not being entitled to her husband's property if her husband dies and she doesn't have any children for him. This man called the show and said that to me, and I was quite stunned. I was much amazed. Now, last week we started the conversation about the whys, right? That pressure itself, we looked at it, and I needed you to tell me who is putting the pressure on couples, men, women, to have children. How does that pressure manifest? And we talked about why they were being put under the pressure. Why do those behind the pressure think it's necessary? And last week I mentioned that we're going to talk about the effects of this pressure as well. What effects does it have on the young couple? What does it do to them, both as individuals and as a couple? And if they have the children before they're ready to have children, because actually you should be ready to have children before you start having children, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But if they have these children before they are ready to, what effects does it have on the children and on society? And then the even bigger question came when I asked you, what happens when they cannot have children? And last week we talked about the blood factor, right? We talked about how they have to be related by blood, how the pressure comes from a place of the child that you have has to be your own by blood. I gave you so many instances, I gave you so many examples. And a lot of you called and you also mentioned the name factor as well. And that's what I want us to talk about today. How many times have you heard somebody say, my family name must not die, or my father's name must not die? I've met a lot of people who feel that pressure, especially men who are the only sons of their fathers. They believe that if they don't have sons of their own, their father's name will die with them. Most Nigerian women do not feel this pressure directly, because Nigerian women are raised from childhood to expect that when they get married, they'll give up the surname that they've used their whole life and adopt their husband's surname. But men are raised to expect that surely they will keep their surname for their whole lives and pass it down to their children. And sure, the daughters will give up the name when they get married, but their sons will carry on the name and pass it on when they have children. So men are raised with that expectation. It may not even be something that a lot of men think about until they cannot have sons. Suddenly, it becomes a problem. Especially, as I said before, if the man is the only son. Yes, he has sisters, but they're all getting married and getting rid of the family surname. He is the only one keeping it alive. And now, his wife cannot have sons. And the pressure starts. His sisters are pressuring her. His mother is pressuring her. He is pressuring her. The family name cannot die. Which is why I want to ask you today, what's in a name? What's in there for name? Why is it so important for the family surname to be passed down? Now, we have to remember this. Half of the people born in Nigeria are female. Based on society's expectations alone, they will all get married and they will all get rid of their surnames. So why have we as a society made it so important, so crucial that a man must pass down his surname, must pass on his surname? Why has it gotten to the point that in our traditional societies and in the rural areas, there is pressure for men and their wives to make sure that the family name is passed on? Have you ever thought about it? Or is it just something, and that's so it be, that's how we were raised, that's so it be, that's so it go, let's be. So it was, so it is, so it will always be. Till latter days, amen, or something. But I want you to think about that. Have you ever thought about it? Waiting day for name. Why you be say, now must say you go pass down your surname to your own sons? Because let's remember, half of the people with them born inside Nigeria, now woman they be. And if those women go along with what society expects from them, it means say all of them go marry, all of them go forget their papa name when they marry. But for man, now must say in own name go continue. He must pass them on to son. He must pass them on to daughter. My pidgin is horrible, but I need you to understand this. Why has it gotten to the point that in our traditional societies and in the rural areas, there is pressure for men and their wives to make sure that the family name is passed on? Again, we're trying to figure out the pressure that is being put on couples to procreate, which leads them to go into baby factories and pick up children that have been created through crime. That's the bigger conversation. But you can't have that big conversation without unpacking it, without breaking it down into small bits and pieces. And this name thing is a big part because it stems from that idea that you must have your biological child. An adopted child, I beg. But your biological child you must have. That's what society says. That's what you and I say to couples. Because you and I are society. When we're calling and say, oh, the society. No, don't say the society. Say me and you. So again, I ask, what's in a name? Michael says that passing on a name is very important. But unfortunately, Michael's call has dropped. So I hope Michael calls me back. What's in a name? Why is it so important for the family name to be passed on? Why is there so much pressure that a man must pass on his surname? Why has it gotten to the point that in our traditional societies and in the rural areas, there is pressure for men and their wives to make sure the family name is passed on? 01277 0993. That's our number for women. If you have the answers, call me. 01277 0993 for our female callers. Everybody else, call me on 01277 1993 2993 3993. Just put 01277 before it or 01277 before it. 01277 0993 1993 2993 3993. Anthony, hi, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're live on the show. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes.
Contribute. Go ahead.
What is in the name in the family is that originally it's from the Bible. If you are a Christian, whoever that is a Christian, you realize that it's from the Bible. You watch or you see when they mention in the Bible the covenant of God from Abraham.
Turn your radio down, sir. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
No. Okay, no, we can't continue this conversation. Call me back, sir, and make sure your radio is turned down when you call back. Let's talk to Samuel. Hello, Samuel. Welcome.
Okay. Hello?
Go ahead. You're live on the show.
This pressure, it comes from usually of religious texts.
Religious text, because my first caller started quoting Bible for me.
Yes, there's a misinterpretation. I'll give you three verses.
Okay.
There's a verse that was talking to this so-called first and his so-called first wife, something about be fruitful and multiply.
Okay.
Now, imagine whereby somebody in a different time, in a different era, told some people to be fruitful and multiply, assuming they were the only two people. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
But now, what does your brain tells you that there are 7 billion people on the earth?
Mm-hmm.
This fruitful and multiply, we don't do entire now, you understand? So now we have to crop all those things. But their brain tells you that no, that instruction was us, everybody be fruitful, multiply until we get to 700 billion and there's no space to walk around. There's another place in the book of Psalms that says that a man that has sons, his sons will be like arrows for him.
Okay.
They might have been speaking to another person, not to these same individuals living in 2019. These people have forgotten that there are certain people that their sons grew up to become cultists. I know the fact millionaires in America, the two sons, they wanted money from the parents. The parents didn't give them. Mother and father were slaughtered like chickens. So some of those things that they saw in those books, they thought, that these books, everything about this book is a law, and it is like written by a higher source. Nothing can counter it. And there are many things that counter it, many examples in history. But these people, because they are more of emotional than rational, they can think direction. You understand? And then, other tribes, there was a time some tribes, they believe that the more children you have, you understand, the stronger your family will be. This brand to have Canoe war house. The Canoe house was a war house. So the more women in your family give birth, they will now those kids grow up, they start to row the canoe. They used to trade with the whites, exchange goods with the white people, and they used to also sell slaves to the white people or something like that. So it was just like a kind of prestige. The more people, and then when they want to fight war, you understand, with another village, to go around in the canoe, the more men, it was just something that was ingrained in them.
So how do we break this cycle? I mean, it doesn't look like it's something that is benefiting human beings. I don't think it is, but maybe somebody will call and say it is benefiting. But I mean, if we have... Oh, Samuel, sorry about that. Call me back if you can. I really loved talking to you. Daya says a family name is very important. Why?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Daya.
Ezekwesili.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, I have to emphasize your name. Ezekwesili. Yeah. So, I mean, the Bible says a good name is better than precious ointment. Okay. So that means our good book for Christians also knows that emphasize the fact that the name is important. So it's so important so much that, I mean, for identification and for easy location and all of that. But having said that, I think where the issue is and where we should begin to change the narrative is that, I mean, for example, for you, if I may think, I would want to know that if you get married today, you most likely will not change, you will not relinquish the Ezekwesili.
Mm-hmm. Why shouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that?
I sense you wouldn't do that.
Why? Why do you think I will not?
Where I think the younger generation is coming up with something like that, which is not bad.
Okay.
Yes, it's not bad. I mean, for example, I'm married, and even though my wife has not chosen that, but if she decides to do that, I won't take it from her.
It won't be a problem for you.
Yes,
but she can't pass the name on to your children. Your children cannot bear her father's name.
No, I mean, if we decide, if we agree and says that, okay,
will you agree? If she suggests this, if she says, "Oh, hey, baby, Dayo, do you think the children should have both our surnames, baby?" What will you say?
I will, and that is why I'm serious. I'm being sincere, and that is where we need to begin to change the narrative and says, okay, you know what? Especially if the family, the man only has daughters, it's I think it's a moral thing on the bills of the husbands to say, you know what, let's for your father's name not to go, because it's so important that the name should not just die off.
But you've still not told me why it's so important for the name to not die off. But I've kept Ronke waiting. Let me talk to Ronke. Dayo, thanks for calling. Ronke says it sounds funny to her. What sounds funny to you, Ronke?
All this thing about hi, Sandra.
Hi. It's all right.
All this carrying on a name. I don't know, maybe because we were all girls and my dad was like, he's really not interested in having a male child. If God gives him a male child, fine. If God doesn't give him whatever, his girls are the best thing that will ever happen to him.
Aww.
So when I hear people say, "Oh, we did a male child," is it a male child to carry a good male child to carry your name on, or just any male child? Because I'm wondering if you have a son that is really nothing to write home about, because you know we don't pray for that, but
it happens.
You have one, so what will happen? Everybody will keep on remembering your name associated with
that. Yeah, I guess the name being remembered is more important than the name being remembered for bad. I don't know.
But I think we just put unnecessary pressures on ourselves, and that's why all these things like this baby factories, kidnapping of kids. Because you know people do kidnap children.
Yes,
hospitals and do all these things. I even heard that people do exchange. Like if you give birth on the same day and it happens to be a boy, you arrange with nurses and they switch. I don't want to believe that it's true though, but you know, I don't know.
Well, yes, we hear stories. We hear stories all the time. Ronke, thank you for calling me. Because here's the thing, we're all very quick to say, oh, the name must not die off. The name is important. If the name is so important, why does it not matter if the mother's name dies? Why? So Dayo called and he assumed I wasn't married and I wasn't holding on to my surname, my father's name, right? Now, let's go along with Dayo and assume that I do marry somebody someday. And I am Sandra Ezekwesili, right? And my children, if I decide to have children, say, "Oh, Mom, you have such a great name. It's such a famous name. It's such a big name. Why? How come we're not answering your name? How come we're answering the name of our dad who nobody knows?" What am I going to say to them? If I have a good name, why can I not give my children that name? Why does it have to be the father's name? If it is important that the name should not die, why does it not matter if the mother's name dies? It's a question. Because one of the reasons why people say, oh, you must have a son, is so that the family name is carried on. Meanwhile, you have 10 daughters. Why can't they carry on the family name? Michael says that it's very important. What do you mean?
Hello?
You say the women are weaker. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, women are the weaker vessel. And as such, there is a need for the family name to stand.
Women, how is the weaker vessel and the family name in one sentence?
They are not women. Okay, let me come in this way now.
Okay.
Women, by the time they get married, they will get rid of the family's name.
Why do they have to do that?
It has been happening. You know it yourself. You made mention of it.
That it has been happening doesn't mean we know why it happens. Why does it happen?
That is what I don't know I don't know. That is what is happening in the society.
No, but the society is me and you now, Michael. Michael, when you have a daughter now, you expect that your daughter will marry and she will leave your name and carry her husband's name. Why? Why can't she hold on to her name? Why can't she pass her own name down to her children?
Because she has gotten married to a man now, and if she's under that very man, the man now have total control over her.
Are you a Christian?
I'm a Christian.
The Bible says the man will leave his mother and father and join his wife, and they will become one.
One.
So did the Bible specify whose name that they will answer?
And that is when they become one, and the woman will answer the husband's
Why
name.
is it the woman that has to answer the husband's name? Why can't the husband?
Why? They are not one.
What?
Yes, if the woman does not answer the husband, then that means they are not one.
So if the husband answers the woman's name, they're not one. Oh, this is good. Bioge, unfortunately, you're going to have to call me back. She thinks the reason we do not want our names to die is because of culture. Bioge, call me back and tell me about that. Don't forget, our line for female callers is 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 2993, and 3993. You're listening to Hard Facts.
Hard Facts. We'll be right back.
This is the glass ceiling on Hard Facts.
On the glass ceiling today, we're talking about the whys, because the whys are very, very important. Why are husbands and wives being put under pressure to have children? Why do those who put husbands and wives under pressure think it is necessary? Whenever I ask that question, I get a lot of interesting answers. And one of the most common answers, especially from people who live in villages or people who are connected, very deeply connected to those in villages, those who live very traditional lives, is that when a woman has a child, it secures her position in her matrimonial home. So before having a child, you have a woman who's at risk of being kicked out by her husband or his relatives. There are so many cases that we've heard about. You've watched it in Nollywood so many times. And you have to ask the question, why are the husband's relatives insisting on a child? Why are the wife's relatives insisting on a child? Because when we talked about it here, people called in and said, even my own family as the wife, they're pressuring me to have children. And for people in Nigeria, it comes down to two things. People in Nigeria want the husband and the wife to have a son. And they want the husband and the wife to have that son for two reasons. They want to make sure his own blood relative inherits his property when he dies, and they want to make sure that his name does not die. So blood and name, those are the two reasons. Last week we looked at blood. If you talk to your grandparents or your uncles or your aunts, they will tell you that it's a bad thing for a man's wealth to be collected by strangers. So blood is very important, and that's why the stress on you must have your biological children is so huge. You must have your biological children. And so people go and sneak into baby factories so that they can pass off the child from the baby factory as their biological child. You even have some women having to fake that they are pregnant and then travel and come back with the baby that they have bought at the baby factory. In fact, you even have sons costing more than daughters at the baby factories. So you have the boys costing 500,000 naira, and you have the girls costing 300,000 naira. So that tells you how important this is. And the reason this is so important is because of inheritance. You have to be related by blood. You have to be able to carry on the name of the family. And today I've been asking you, what is in a name? Most Nigerian women do not feel the pressure to carry on their father's name, not directly. Nigerian women are raised from childhood to expect that when they get married, they'll give up their name, a name that they've used their whole life. They will adopt their husband's name. But men are raised to expect that they will keep their surname their whole lives. They will pass it down to their children. And sure, if they have daughters, the daughters will give up the names when they get married. But the importance of having sons is so that those sons will carry on the name and they will pass it on when they have children. So you have men that are raised with that expectation. They probably don't even think about it too much until they have sons. Or they cannot have sons. Suddenly, it becomes a problem. Especially if that man is an only son. He has sisters, but the sisters are all getting married. And they're getting rid of the family surname. He's the only one to keep it alive. And his wife cannot have sons. She's having daughters. And then the pressure starts. His sisters will come. Her own family will come. His mother is, her mother, he himself, what's happening? Why can't you give me a male child who will carry on my name? And then the woman says, let me go and buy a baby at a baby factory. Because the family name cannot die. And again, I ask you, what's in a name? Why is it so important for the family surname to be passed down? Half of the population in Nigeria is female. Why can't it be up to the women to pass down the name if the name were so important? Why have we as a society made it so crucial that a man must pass on his surname? Chris is not Gumbo, says God is the Genesis. What do you mean, sir?
Hello.
Chris, welcome. God is the Genesis. What do you mean?
Yeah, Sandra, how are you?
Very well. Good evening.
Well done. You are keeping all of us very busy.
Good.
Yeah, it's able, Sandra. I don't know how you are going to be able to influence the Nigerian lawmakers to pass a bill so that you can achieve what you are trying to achieve. I doubt if that's going to be possible. But you should know that there are things humanity cannot change.
So things like name and passing on names, why can't we change it?
You can't change it because it is difficult. God is the origin of all this. If you are a Christian, how many times does the Bible tell you that Jesus laying claim that I am the son of my father? Whoever has seen me has seen my father. So you can't change it. Just as the air cannot be changed, the sun and the moon, the day and the night comes, you can't change it. No humanity can do anything about it. So that's why I said you are quite entertaining. You are keeping all of us busy thinking. But the name is key, is a plus factor. You trace it to originality.
All right. So let me give you an example of my name, Ezekwesili.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So I wasn't Ezekwesili until my father woke up one morning and said he's going to change his name from Obanye Ezenweze to Ezekwesili. So where Ezekwesili starts is with my father.
Yes.
Right? And if I were to end up with a man who says, oh, you must change your name, the only people who pass on my father's name will be my brothers.
Yes.
God forbid if my brothers don't have sons. What then happens? Because their daughters will have to marry men who will say, no, you must change your name.
Yeah.
So that means my father's name dies because I cannot pass it on?
Yes, you can't. You can't pass it on.
And we cannot change that.
You can't change it.
Why?
You are born to be exported. You are somebody, you are waiting to get along with somebody's name.
All right, Chris.
Why are you a woman and a man is a man? There are differences. As if you can't change the reason why you are a woman, or a man cannot change the reason why he's a man, then you can't change what goes along with them. The name. You will not even be happy as a woman to bear your father's name, or that your name can be passed.
You're making assumptions, Chris. You're making a lot of assumptions. But I want to talk to Adejo. Thank you for calling me. Adejo says for him and his root, they've grown past that. What do you mean?
Okay, Sandra, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, you see, now if I want to go, let me go both ways, traditionally and religiously. I am a Muslim. And as a Muslim, your wife, it is not a must. In fact, it is even good for your wife to carry on her father's name in marriage.
Okay.
It is a choice that she would choose to make. I mean, she has a choice, let me use it that way. So she can either continue, but that choice has to be made by her. It is not you that will ask your wife to take up your name or stick to your father's name.
Okay.
Now, my wife bears her father's name. We are over 13 years into marriage now.
Okay.
Now, and secondly, where I come from, women inherit.
Oh, good.
Girls inherit property.
Good.
Like they inherit property. So the only difference is that now if I choose to go traditional, maybe one dies interstate. So if you die interstate and you choose to go by the law, the woman can decide to go by the law of the land, which is that she will earn the truth like any other child of that man. She can get the same size of wealth. And if you choose to go by religion, then there's a percentage that she will get, because the assumption is that she is also going to inherit from her own husband's property. But in a situation whereby the woman is yet to be married, she gets like the male children. It's just that simple. So this thing is not the whole. I mean, some have gone past it. Trust me. In Africa, in Nigeria, a lot have gone past it. In fact, it is even sounding very strange to me now when I hear people still saying that you are a it's just like saying a woman is a nobody when she is born as a woman. That's how it sounds to me. That's how it sounds to me personally. You're forgetting that it is you, the man, that possesses the X and Y chromosome. So everything is you. If you can't do it, why blaming the woman?
Adejo, thank you for calling me. Let me talk to Joseph. Joseph is in Okota, says it's from time immemorial. What do you mean, Joseph?
Exactly, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Turn your radio down. Go ahead.
Yes. Do you know my major concern?
What?
I just pray you don't start any troubles with your husband over this thing.
Say that again?
I just hope you're not planning on dragging this issue with your husband.
Oh, no. My husband is very fine with me keeping my name. Don't worry.
And I also hope that the mothers listening will not start making issues also. Wanting their husband to change their name to
Why? Why should you hope that they will not make issues? What if what if this show awakens them and they realize, oh my God, Sandra is actually right?
My sister, if in my family, my sister would, if I should change my name to my
wife's name.
And then what will happen to my sister?
I'm not even asking you to change your name to your wife's name. I'm asking, why must it be your own name that is passed on to the children?
Now, if it's not mine that is passed on, it means that my wife's family name will be passed on.
Yes, why can't it be your wife's family name? Why should her family name be forgotten?
If I change mine to her name, then what becomes of my sisters? What would they do?
What becomes of my
sisters, the female ones in my family?
They can decide to change their name as well.
And then what happens to my family name?
That's your family name now.
That is what I'm saying. You want it to die off like that?
But hold on. Let me ask you something. So imagine that you didn't have. Do you have sons?
Yes.
You have sons. Imagine that you didn't have any sons and it was only daughters that you had. What would you do about your family name passing on? Because your sisters have already dropped your family name, so you're the only one with the family name.
That one would not be an issue.
Why?
Because I don't have it. I don't have a daughter.
Okay.
And everybody will understand, because when she marries, she definitely will have to bear the husband's name.
So you'll be comfortable with your own family name dying?
You are the one saying it. I haven't said so.
No, I'm asking a question. You'd be comfortable with your family name dying if you didn't have sons and your daughter is the only one that can carry it on?
Of course, yes, the family name will die.
Will die.
The family may die.
Because, no sons to carry it on.
But what if I have a son?
Well, you have a son, and now your sons will carry it on. Joseph, thanks for calling. Rafiat thinks it's a societal construct. That's a lot of grammar, Rafiat. Break it down.
Hello, I think this is more from a societal construct.
That's too much grammar. Break it down.
The essence of a name was to have some form of identity that we can all be recognized by. But at the end of the day, every name comes to an end. And because of the tradition of, I want to see an extension of myself, the society feels like, oh, yes. But because if you think about it, so many of us that answer names these days, they are not the names of your father's fathers. At some point, the name changed.
Exactly.
And it's more of a traditional construct, because I come from a religion where I am not even supposed to. If I want to change my name, that is my decision. But it is better for me not to change my name. I'm supposed to stick with my father's name. And if I stick with my father's name, it means I still carry my father's name on till whenever, I die.
But can you give it on to your children?
Now, that's why I said it's a traditional construct. Because you cannot transfer those, because of the Nigerian construct and traditional thing, I cannot give that name to my children. But if you go to a place like Ghana, there are places where children bear their mother's names.
True.
And even from far back, if you read some religious texts, children are known by the names of their fathers and the names of their mothers as well. So you see somebody bear son of this and that, having both the father and the mother's name. But all of a sudden, there's this societal control, this traditional control. In fact, some women are forced to have to change the name, because if you're using a different name, you go and register for some certain things. They're like, why are you wearing a different name? You have to have the same name. When it comes to say things like visa and other things. And you're like, why is that important? Somebody raised the question. I laughed when Kola said that it means you and your husband are not the same. Hello. I had that name for 20-something years before, or 30-something years, regarding whatever the time that you might, before meeting this person. It means I identify more with that name than any other name. A name is just supposed to be for an identity, but we've carried it on to feel like it's supposed to be an extension of ourselves and a gift to the world when we are no longer here.
Rafiat, let me talk to James. James believes that God ordained this from the start. I want to hear that argument. Thank you for calling me. James, hi, welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. God ordained this from the beginning, you said?
Exactly, God ordained it, because when you look at the Bible, all the genealogies they are talking about is the genealogy of a man. They never talk of any genealogy of any woman. And then it's also for procreational purpose. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's for procreational purpose. The woman has to start a family. And the family will always be started in the name of another man, because God built the family.
Why? Why does it have to be in the name of the man? Why can't the man and the woman say, you know what, let's create a new name that will be both ours? It's not my father, it's not your mother, it's our name that will be passed on. Why can't you do that? Why does one person's name have to die off?
It's God that has ordained it, and you're trying.
Were you there when God ordained it?
It's there in the Bible.
Where in the Bible? Where?
We normally read history.
Where? Quote me. No, quote the part of the Bible where it is for me.
All right. If you read from the book of Matthew, the beginning, they'll say the beginning of the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Then they trace his roots right from the genealogies that have been before him, and all the names that are mentioned are the names of men.
And you don't have a problem with that. You don't have a problem with the fact that all the women that made Jesus were erased. You don't have a problem with that?
Well, if the Bible puts it, why should I have a problem with that? And I believe that God has placed the women in the office that they should be contented with that.
Contented with that.
And they will be happy with that.
All right, James, thanks for calling me. Archie thinks the problem is our religions and our cultures. What do you mean, Archie?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sandra, you've gathered all of us in Africa and kept us on a table. You are now shaking the table.
Somebody must fall.
Somebody must fall.
Legs must break.
And Africa is fighting back, don't worry. I was rounding up from work and I started hearing this conversation through my earpiece, and I was just running and trying to finish up so that I can find a way to call in and all of that. So, truth be told, two factors I think are very, very important when we are discussing this situation. Culture, religion, and probably education or exposure.
Okay.
Because I have seen generationally how people have reinvented themselves because of a little bit of exposure they've gotten with their religious beliefs, exposure they've gotten on culture. Because, like you said, you've made a very, very valid argument. So we play a lady through the line, and it was just one name. Does it mean because the name was just passed to the lady, the name will now be diminished, and then there's no value on that very name, A name is just an identity to me, or generally is an identity. Now, while people live through their stay on earth with their names, there shouldn't be pressure to make anybody, for whatever gender or sex, to take over or inherit the names. You understand? I have seen some instances where, for instance, patients come in and you see a mother of 70 years, for instance.
Okay.
You see a woman of 70 years and she's with a toddler.
Okay.
And or let's say neonate, and you're like, Madam, is this your child? It is my child. Madam, is this your child? It's my child. And then your argument spans from, does this woman have the energy required to take care of this child? The resources required to take care of this child? The emotions required to do the child rearing for this child? And everything still stems back to the fact that Madam has to have a male child. Because if Madam doesn't have a male child, her stay in her husband's house is limited. Her stay with inheritance are limited. So to cut the long matter short, I think as time goes on, as we evolve as Africans, families have started understanding that a female child is as relevant and valuable as a male child. And so I have my father who is still in his 60s, but that man has done his will. And there are 3 ladies in my house and we are 2 guys. And all of us have equal inheritance. So that tomorrow something happens to this, I can't go on because I feel I have maybe one estate. I feel I can come and oppress my younger sisters or something. Or someone cannot, because they feel they are no more bearing, or they are bearing names by their own, choice. Because the place of bearing of name is a choice thing. So by their own choice, they decide to say, okay, I'm no more going to bear the name. I'm going to bear the name. And then you now start pursuing them out of the house or taking over inheritance. Finally, I think, let me just drop this. There is a big factor the Nigerian men on this table should consider. Wealth has a very big part to play in this whole equation. Because I won't mention names, but there are, very elite people in Nigeria that when we see them on tabloids, nobody says so. Like, let me just use Adamu for instance, or Okon for instance. Nobody says Mrs. Okon. They say the daughter of so has given birth with her husband, because the relevance is on the name of the elite, whether she's a daughter to that elite or a son to that elite. It is the fact that she is owned or she is given birth to by that elite. So money plays a very big role in this situation.
So we should all have money so that we all have sense.
If you can eliminate poverty, if you can eliminate,
a lot of these things will not be a problem anymore.
Honestly.
Thanks for calling me. I've got messages on Facebook. Victoria Ome says, ours is a male-dominated society where ego and selfishness reign supreme. In enlightened climes, this name thing no longer matters. People take on any name they prefer because they've realized that there is nothing in a name. Countless numbers of male children have disgraced their family names miserably. It is just primitivity that is worrying our Nigerian men, Victoria says. Tony Haven says, if the male child is not relevant, please ask Abraham, ask Hannah. Find out why God decided to have a Jesus. I haven't said, not once have I said, that the male child is not relevant, Tony. I don't know where you're getting that from. More messages here. This one says, this one's from Amechi Paul, Kevin Onowa. It's not really society that does that. It's natural for the various species in our world to procreate. Oh, yes, I agree with you, but I don't think you understand the full picture of the conversation that we are having. A conversation that will continue next week, by the way. Next week, we're going to move on to another aspect of this pressure. You know how people see children as a sign of God's blessings, and having children is seen as God's will. So a couple gets married, we're all happy for them, but what we all say comes next? Children. Even at the wedding, people are already wishing them many healthy, happy children. In the churches, we're taught we're taught that children are a blessing from God. In the mosques, we're taught that children are a blessing from God. Our traditions and our cultures teach us that children are a sign that the ancestors are happy. As a society, we see having children as an accomplishment. When a couple has children, their family members celebrate. Their parents have become grandparents, and this is also an accomplishment for them in their eyes and in the eyes of our society. So we have naming ceremonies and child dedications. We have omugo. These things are a source of joy. But in our society, having children is not just an accomplishment, it's a milestone. And everybody is expected to cross it. A woman's mother may ask her, "All my friends have gone to omugo. When will I come for my own?" People count their grandchildren in the same way they count their children's degrees and their children's certificates. A lot of young people who have not yet gotten married, or who are married but are not yet ready to have children, they're saying that the expectations from their parents is too much. I've heard young women tell me that when they see incoming calls from their mothers, they're afraid of the conversation that they're about to have. They're afraid that the talk will reach the subject of marriage and children, and yet again, they'll be made to feel like they are disappointing their parents. So next week, let me talk to you about if you've ever felt that way. Did you ever feel under pressure to have children for the sake of your parents or relatives? That's a question you'll be answering for me next week. Coming up, a special report from our newsroom about irregular migration out of Nigeria. The things that continue to happen every day in the news, tons and tons of Nigerians being brought back into the country by emergency services, by agencies whose job it is to do that. We'll listen to that special report, and then you and I will have a conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of The Glass Ceiling. If you missed it, you can catch it on our podcast. The Glass Ceiling has a podcast, so look for The Glass Ceiling Show on any of your favorite podcast apps, and you can listen to previous episodes and today's episode as well. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
Hard facts.